In today's Christian news, former DC Talk and Newsboys singer Michael Tate finally answered the question that had been asked years ago. The question being, what if I stumble? What if I fall? What if I lose my step and make fools of us all?
There have been times I have just desecrated the walk, if you will. I've messed up. And
these people are under contract, like they are signed like any other artist. They are entertainers.
This was an open secret in Nashville. This was an open secret in Christian music communities, and yet we let this guy get away with it for how long? I mean, 2004 is a while ago now. Like, we're talking 21 years. We're talking a couple of decades. I think, first of all, if you grew up on the Newsboys or DC Talk music, you might need to check in with yourself today, especially if you're deconstructing or you've faced some type of church abuse, because it can be a bit triggering how systems of power and money protect people who bring them power and money, and that really sucks.
My mom and dad didn't make much money.
Michael Tate, why you gotta be so creepy, dude? You out here giving rest us Christian artists just a bad name. We out here trying to build a kingdom, and you out here just, I don't know, diddying around or whatnot, man. Get your head straight.
The Newsboys have finally addressed the allegations regarding their former lead singer, Michael Tate, with an official statement. Here's what they had to say.
Last night, our hearts were shattered when we read the news alleging drug use and inappropriate sex by our former lead singer, Michael Tate. While Michael has not addressed these allegations, we are devastated even by the implications. First and foremost, our hearts are with the victims who bravely share their stories. If you are a victim, we urge you to come forward. We absolutely do not condone any form of sexual assault. The four of us are husbands and fathers. Between the four of us, we have 14 children. Our wives and children have made many sacrifices while we have dedicated our lives to playing music together that glorifies God. We are horrified, heartbroken, and angry that this report, and in many ways, we feel as if we and our families have been deceived for the last 15 years. When he left the band in January, Michael confessed to us and our management that he, quote, had been living a double life, end quote, but we never imagined that it could be this bad.
Someone has come forward claiming that the Newsboys were already aware of Michael Tate's double life before the allegations surfaced.
I find that kind of hard to believe that every member of the Newsboys that he was working with just had no idea that he was allegedly sexting other people. I don't feel like people understand how intimate and tight-knit touring is. You're pretty much with your band, with those people for an extended amount of time.
On several occasions, he has openly admitted that he is a sinner, but no one was able to figure it out.
What do you know about him after working for him, traveling around and seeing what he's doing? What do you know about him now that you didn't know when you started?
That he really, truly loves Michael Dwayne Tate and all of my countless chief of sinner baggage.
Yeah.
If the Newsboys knew and they stayed silent, it means they only chose to speak up after these allegations became public, and they are complicit. The Newsboys posted on Instagram yesterday stating that they are all fathers and that together they have 14 children, and they're so misled and they're so disheartened and they're so hurt, and that Michael had told them about some of these issues but never identified what that truly was. If you had knowledge of it, you're complicit. You did not report this stuff. Yeah, no, I'm not buying it. For years, there have been rumors. There have been many red flags. There have been indications that there could be something wrong with this situation.
We've seen this story play out over and over again in Christian institutions. The cover-ups, the silence, the way they protect their money, status, and influence at any cost. The situation with Michael Tate is no different. But honestly, it's not just about him. This is about a much bigger issue, a system that allows these things to happen again and again because no one wants to face the uncomfortable truths. When you talk about the Christian contemporary music, CCM industry, it's hard not to see how the focus is often on the money and the power. Let's be real. Michael Tate is a massive figure in CCM, almost like the Diddy of the genre. He's famous, powerful, and let's not forget, a huge moneymaker for the industry. And that's where things get tricky. When someone is bringing in that much money, it's easy to overlook a lot of things. The music industry, especially Christian music, is built on reputation, fame, and the money that comes with it. The fact that Michael Tate has been at the center of this for so many years, making millions, means that people in the industry have turned a blind eye to what's really going on. It's not new. It's a pattern that's been happening for years. The people involved, the band members, the tour crew, and even the industry insiders all know that someone like Michael Tate brings in a lot of revenue. But when money's involved, things get ignored. That's the sad truth. Now let's talk about how the whole thing has been brushed under the rug. The people around Tate, the band, and even the industry at large are all pretending they didn't know what was going on. I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. Michael Tate has been part of Newsboys for decades. People have known him for years, and there have been rumors circulating for just as long. How is it possible that people who have worked with him for so long didn't have a clue about what was happening? That's just not believable. In Nashville, this has been an open secret for so long, and no one said anything until now. Why? Because it was easier to stay silent. It was easier to protect the money, the reputation, and the tours. That's what makes this whole thing so frustrating. The real issue isn't just Michael Tate, it's the system. The way Christian institutions are more interested in protecting their brand, their wealth, and their status than in doing what's right. This isn't just a one-off incident. It's been happening for years, and it's not going away until people in the industry are willing to admit that there's a real problem. The victims of this situation have been living in silence, suffering with their pain and shame, because the industry never made it safe for them to speak out. It's so easy to blame the people who commit these awful acts, but the truth is, the system that enables this behavior is just as guilty. The people in charge, the people who could make a difference, have chosen to protect their profits and their image instead of confronting the truth. When things like this finally come to light, people act shocked. But I'm not surprised. I'm angry, yes, but not surprised. This kind of thing has happened with so many other Christian leaders, pastors, singers, organizations, who have been allowed to get away with abuse, misconduct, and lies simply because they're bringing in money or maintaining a certain image. It's easier to keep quiet, to ignore what's happening, than to confront the hard truth. Look at some of the biggest names in Christian music: Hillsong, Bethel, Elevation. There's been abuse, misconduct, and cover-ups in these organizations for years. The same thing goes for pastors like Johnny Hunt. The pattern is clear. The system is built to protect power, money, and influence. Not truth, not justice. And when you have someone like Michael Tate, who is a cornerstone of CCM, the whole industry gets involved in protecting him. Why? Because he brings in too much money, and it's easier to ignore the darker side of things than deal with the uncomfortable reality. What frustrates me the most is the way people inside the industry act like they didn't know what was going on. People on the tours, the band members, the people around him, they all pretend like they had no idea about the drinking, the partying, and the rumors. But how can they claim to have not known? Michael Tate has been in the public eye for years. He's been part of Newsboys for decades, and his reputation has been well known for a long time. It's hard to believe that those who've worked closely with him didn't know what was happening. The truth is, it was easier for them to stay quiet, to ignore the rumors, because calling it out would have jeopardized their reputation and their profits. And the worst part? The victims have been left to suffer in silence. Too many times, the people who have been hurt by these situations are too scared to speak out because they know that when they do, they'll be met with indifference. They'll be ignored, pushed aside, and made to feel like they don't matter. That's the culture we're dealing with here. A culture that protects the powerful, the wealthy, and the famous, while leaving the victims to fend for themselves. What's happening with Michael Tate is tragic, but it's not new. It's been happening for years, and it will keep happening unless Christian institutions make some real changes. As long as money, power, and status are prioritized over doing what's right, these kinds of things will continue. The church, the Christian music industry, and the people in charge need to wake up. They need to stop protecting the people who are clearly abusing their power and start protecting the victims, the ones who have been hurt by these lies and these cover-ups. This isn't just about Michael Tate. It's about a culture that values reputation and wealth over truth and justice. It's about an industry that puts the comfort and convenience of the powerful above the well-being of those who have been hurt. It's about a system that's built to protect the image of the famous and the wealthy at the expense of doing what's right. The truth is, we need a change. We need a shift in the way things are done. Christian music and the institutions surrounding it need to start putting people over profits, truth over reputation, and justice over power. This isn't just about one person. It's about an entire system that needs to be called out for what it is. And until that happens, we're going to keep seeing the same patterns of silence, cover-ups, and victims being ignored. It's time for the Christian music industry to wake up, face the truth, and start making real changes that protect the victims and hold people accountable. Until that happens, nothing will change. We can't keep protecting the powerful and pretending that everything's okay. The system needs to be dismantled, and we need to start putting people first, the ones who have been hurt, the ones who have been silenced. They deserve better.